How to avoid failing driving test in Mirrabooka. As soon as you get out of the licensing centre at Mirrabooka, you've got the intersection where you might need to give way if you're turning right. If there's no green arrow, you will have to give way to traffic from the opposite direction, and you have to be well prepared to handle these types of intersections. As soon as you turn, so as soon as you finish turning, there's emerging traffic on Ravenswood Drive. Learner drivers miss this merging traffic here, particularly if they're not familiar with the area and if they're too nervous. If you're doing a driving assessment in the early morning hours, this intersection can be really busy. We recommend at least a 90-minute lesson before your driving assessment. Shortly after, you're going to turn off Ravenswood Drive to STROUGHTON Road, and then after a while, you're going to get to the intersection of Arcana Road and Stroughton Road, where you have priority and you shouldn't stop and give way because the traffic from your right-hand side must give way to you. So don't stop and wait. You've got the priority here. It's extremely important to be familiar with the potential driving test route. Now, this is one of the places where you might be doing the exercise left something behind. It's called CHIPALA Road. So it is on the hill. So if you stop on the side of the road, that is if the assessor asks you to stop on the side of the road to perform the exercise. So if you're stopping or parking on the hill, you must turn the front wheels towards the curb. So your front wheels must be facing the curb. Once again, CHIPALA Road in Westminster. Reportedly, this is the most difficult car park in Perth. The Northlands Plaza shopping centre in Balcatta, just off Wanneroo Road. It's on the corner of Amelia Street and Wanneroo Road. So currently we're on Wanneroo Road, turning right on Amelia Street. And then shortly after, we've got the probably about 30-40 metres down the road, we've got the entry to the shops. It can be pretty busy, especially in the morning hours and late afternoon hours during the peak hours. So just make sure that the car in front of you clears and makes enough space before you can commit to turning, because if they stop at the beginning of the entrance, where would you go? You would have potentially got cleaned up by the traffic coming from the opposite direction. So do not commit unless your car can fully fit. This car park is particularly difficult for people doing a manual transmission driving test because it's very steep. Most candidates report that they turn left here and then they ask them to park, either reverse park or even forward park. So don't be surprised if they ask you to forward park. Now, there are always a lot of pedestrians, so you've got to keep an eye on pedestrians. Even if someone's stepping into the pedestrian zone, you've got to wait. We stopped here to wait to give way to the people that are coming from our right-hand side at the moment. And then once the pedestrians have gone, then we can proceed. By the way, you have to give way to pedestrians even if there's no pedestrian crossing if you are turning. It's getting harder and harder. This is the intersection just outside of the Northlands Plaza shopping centre, just on the other side of Wanneroo Road. It's the intersection of Amelia Street and Main Street. So there's no, luxury of having a green arrow here because there's none and, it's never going to come up. Now, we've got to be careful because we can't see anything from that bus. So we can't commit any further to block the opposite lanes. You've got to make 100% certain that there's no one to give way to before we commit any further. Now we've got a little bit better view, but still can't proceed. If you mismanage this type of an intersection, the assessor will have to intervene, which means that you are failing your driving assessment. Now we can proceed because the car in the left lane is slowing down to turn as well. We didn't have to wait for the lights to change. This is a tricky one. This is a corner of Grand Promenade and Morley Drive. If the assessor asks you to turn right immediately after you turn left, it means that you're going to line up in the right lane. Otherwise, you're not going to have time to change lanes because there's only about 60, 70 metres before you have to line up in one of the two turning lanes taking you to DIANELLA Drive. If you have a choice of two turning lanes and if you haven't been given direction to turn right shortly after, always pick the left turning lane. This is a very similar situation with turning left on Morley Drive from DIANELLA Drive. If the assessor asks you to turn right after you turn left in this particular situation, you will have to get across to the right lane without separately indicating. So if you pay attention to the white little gets that's driving right in front of us now, so they are turning left, but they intend to turn right shortly after. So for that reason, they're going to line up straight over to the right, to the far right lane. So that way, they're not sort of risking to run out of time and space to change lanes. If you do it any other way, the assessor will mark you for performing 2 maneuvers instead of 1. ROADWORKS. So many learner drivers fail their driving assessment by speeding through the roadworks. This is on Morley Drive. You've got to keep an eye out on any roadworks and pay attention to the speed limit. And also, if the lanes are modified for the traffic, you've got to be very careful. If you have to squeeze between the cones and the other traffic, you've got to slow down significantly just to make sure that the assessor does not intervene. If there are traffic controllers pointing to where you need to go and showing stop signs, you have to obey those temporary road rules. This is the intersection of Alexander Drive and VIRRIGAN Drive in DIANELLA. When we line up to turn left on VIRRIGAN Drive, don't stop to give way because there's simply no give way sign or any marking that suggests it's a give way. We shouldn't stop here and attempt to give way to somebody because we have a separate lane and we should continue. A lot of people fail at this particular intersection. At the next traffic lights, we have almost the same situation. Turning left from VIRRIGAN Drive to DIANELLA Drive. And if you pay attention, there's no give way sign or any marking that suggests it's a give way sign. So don't stop here and attempt to give way to somebody. Continue because you've got the right of way here. There's one more intersection like this. It's on the corner of Alexander Drive and Woodrow Avenue in DIANELLA. NORTHWOOD Drive. Merging traffic. A lot of people report that somehow they didn't see this merge here. It's quite obvious that the road is narrowing down if you can't see the sign, and the white line that's disappearing is quite obvious sign. We're on Mirrabooka Avenue, and if the assessor asks you to turn right, you've got to change lanes. They're not going to ask you to change lanes, so that's your job. So you've got to change lanes before it's too late. You have to enter the turning lane before you get to the white unbroken solid line on your left. This is the intersection of Mirrabooka Avenue and Balga Avenue. St Andrews, which is the estate in DIANELLA. So that's just off VIRRIGAN Drive. As soon as you turn on Broadmoor Avenue, you're going to have the merge here. So don't miss this merge. And then you're probably going to turn right on Meadowbrook Boulevard, which will lead you towards a set of narrow streets where you will potentially do the exercise left some behind. On this particular street, Meadowbrook Boulevard, you've got quite a few speed bumps, and just watch your speed. Do not go over 50. And don't confuse the yellow advisory signs for speed limit signs. The 20 means that you got to go over the speed limits. It's recommended speed to go over the speed limits at 20. But I personally believe that sometimes you need to slow down even more. Now we're starting to climb. The name of this street is Saddleberg Ramble, and any street that runs off that is very steep. If you're doing your manual transmission driving test, you will have to practice a lot on your hill starts. So if they ask you to do the exercise, left something behind around here, make sure that you turn the wheel towards the curb as you stop or park your vehicle. If you find that driveways are steep or shallow that you can't fit the car, it's best to do a U-turn in this particular pocket. I hope that this guidance will help you pass your driving test in Mirrabooka. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.